Yeah, what's up guys, it's Theo from Final Concept. So I've noticed this trend on social media on how to create this text on portrait, but I haven't really had the time. In this video, we are going to be creating one I did for myself, and probably you can do that for yourself as well. So let's just get started. Welcome to Final Concept. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up our application. For this tutorial, I'm using Adobe Photoshop CC 2021, and I'll go ahead and create a new document. Now I'm going with my custom settings, which is 2K by 2K for the height and width, and the resolution is 300, and I'll click on create. Now the image I'm going to be using is actually this one, because why not? I look a lot nicer here. And I'll right click and go to open with Photoshop. So what I will do is I'll change this to a layer by clicking on this icon right here, and I'll just click and drag onto my sheet or my workspace, which is somewhere around here. And I'm also going to divide this into two. So you can see I have my rulers up here. So hold down Control and press R to bring up your rulers, and I'll just click and drag to somewhere around here. I think this is the center. Now I'm also going to align this to show more of my face. I mean, why not? Let's close this up. So let's go to Google and find some interesting quotes, like motivational quotes. Okay, everything you've ever wanted is sitting on the other side of here. Okay, this sounds very interesting. So I'll just copy this, bring it back to Photoshop, and let's paste it in here. Now let me hide this for a second, and I'll bring up the type 2 or the horizontal type 2. I'm going to set the color to black. It doesn't really matter, the color doesn't really matter, but I want to be able to see what I'm doing. So since the background is white, I'll use a black text. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me put this to left align and reduce the size, because this is crazily huge. Probably 36 should be just fine, or probably till we see everything. So 30 should be okay. Now everything, and I'll bring the next text down. I'll bring this text down. I'll bring this text down. I'll bring this text down. This text down. All right. So basically we have something like this. This is looking quite neat. You know what? Let's bring this down also and increase the size of this, because we want to have some form of let's just say something interesting. So I'll highlight this whole thing, go into the character. If you don't have this, go to window, click on character, it should be here, and I'll change the spacing between these two. So that is going to be here. So I'll click and drag to the left, and I have something like this. Now let's bring this down also and try and increase this as well. So something like this, and probably increase this as well. Why am I increasing everything? So let's bring this also closer, and bring this also closer to something like this. Yeah, I think something like this is okay. Now let's bring back our image. So this is what we have. Now the trick here is to make your image cover up the whole text we have here. So I'm going to stretch it out to something like this. I think something like this is okay. I wanted to bring up my face, but unfortunately it still has to go. So this is what we have. Now that you are done with that, select the text, and you see this big T we have over here. That is what we are going to work with. So hold down the Control key, and you notice that the cursor changes to this new cursor with a rectangle next to it, or a square next to it. And I'll just click on the T. So holding down the Control, click on the T. That is going to create a selection for you. But before that, you know what? I actually almost made this mistake. So once we have the selection, go back to our layer, the layer being the image. You know what, let me just go ahead and name it up. And since we have the selection, the image is selected, click on the max tool, which is the third icon from the left. So we have something like this. Basically, you haven't done anything to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around using Control I. But before that, I should actually say that we should duplicate the layer, so that we'll be deleting one, and the image is also going to show in one. So for the one on top, we are going to have the layer or the layer mask still active, so that we can see our text. Now if I go ahead and use Control I to invert the selection, you see the image comes back. Now we are going to delete that layer mask from the one at the bottom, and we are also going to create a selection around that particular area. So we are going to create a selection around this area so that we will only get our layer mask, or we will only get the text showing on our layer mask, which is right here. Now to do this, I'll be using the rectangular marquee tool. You can use M on your keyboard, and I'll create a selection like this. Now once I have that selection, I'll go into the layers panel and create a layer mask. Now this is what we are getting because we created the selection over that area. So what we have to do is that layer mask selected, we are going to use Ctrl-I to invert that selection. Now I'm going to create a background on top of my actual background. I'll go into the adjustment panel and click on color fill, and I'll use a color black. You don't really have to do this. You can just use your paint bucket tool, G on your keyboard, and just color it into whatever color you want. But I prefer the flexibility of the color fill, which makes it easier to change the color at any point in time. So I can change it anytime I double click from here. Now, in case you are done with this, you can also go ahead and play with some few effects, like adding a stroke to your layer mask or the layer on top, and it's also going to appear. Now, there's something I want to show. Notice this linking icon right between these two images. So we have the layer and the layer mask itself. Now if you click on it to turn it off, you'll be able to move the image separately and be able to move the layer mask also separately. So if I grab the move tool, and with the layer mask selected, you can see I can move the layer mask without affecting the image. Now let's say it is linked. Now when I move it, you can see that it is moving alongside the image. This is not what we want. So I'll go ahead and I'll check that with the layer mask selected. I'll place it somewhere around here. And if I go ahead and move it to wherever I want, you see that it is only showing where that layer mask is. And basically that is it. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch more of our videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as always, don't forget to share with your family and friends. This is Theo from Affinity Concept, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.